Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast. I'm really excited to introduce you to my guest today. His name is Ari Galper, and he's been recommended to me by a friend as an amazing guest, an amazing expert. And he is the world's #1 authority on trust-based selling and has been featured in CEO magazine, Forbes, Inc. magazine, Sky News, and the Australian Financial Review. Ari has created a unique and different sales approach based on trust and integrity called Unlock the Game, designed so the dreaded act of chasing and the painful experience of rejection is eliminated forever, a feat never thought possible until now. Ari, very warm welcome to the Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you for having me.
And this is a subject very close to my heart, and I bet it's a subject very close to our listeners' heart as well. Selling ourselves, selling our services. My audience is principally coaches, consultants, experts. So they're not selling products as such, they're selling their services, which can feel very personal. So I'd love to dig into the mindset of having fruitful, enjoyable sales conversations and removing the fear from them. But before we delve into that, I'd love to ask you, what brought you into the world of selling?
Sure. There's kind of a story behind all this that kind of woke me up to this concept, what I call trust-based selling, which is my specialty. But about 20 years ago, I was a sales manager in a software company, and we launched the first online website data collection tools for websites. Now it's called Google Analytics. It's pretty popular. It's free. But back then it cost money. And I was managing 18 people underneath me, salespeople at the time. And fast-growing business, the opportunities that were big came my way, the big leads. And so this one contact crossed my desk, and I called the gentleman back. He was with a big company, and we had a nice conversation. And he agreed to do a conference call to show him a demo of our product. And it was a big opportunity. If I closed this one sale, it would double the revenue of the company in one transaction. That's how big it was. So we're pretty excited about that. The day finally came, Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock. I went in the conference room with my CEO. I closed the door behind me. There's a big, long conference table in the room. In the middle of the table is a speakerphone, the old corporate ones with the 3 legs on it, kind of spacious corporate phones. So I hit the dial tone, and I dialed the number they gave me. He says, hello. He's on the other side of the phone. And I introduced myself. He says, how's it going? And he says to me, Ari, let us tell you who's with us today on the phone line. I said, great. I know anybody else will be there. Next thing I hear is, my name is Mike. I'm CEO. I was like, wow, CEO is a good person to have there. My name is John. I'm head of IT. Oh, this is even better. My name is Julie. I'm head of global marketing. Oh, this is fantastic. I mean, everybody on this phone call was basically a decision maker. They were all there at one time. This is a call we hope dream of happening, as often as possible. So I introduced myself to everyone. Then gave them a live demo of our product over the web. We collected data ahead of time on the website to show them how it looks like. They can see the information. I'm showing this to them, describing how it works. And I started this noise on the phone call, like, wow, this is great. This is amazing. They started asking me all kinds of questions. How does it work? How do we install it? How does technology work? And of course, I had all the answers. I was competent. I was friendly, answering objection. I was doing everything I was taught to do from the sales books that I read, from the gurus I listened to. There was so much chemistry on this phone call, Nina. It was like a love fest on the phone. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
They got all the questions. You got all the answers. You're saying to yourself, oh, there's no resistance. This is wonderful. And that's how it felt. An hour went by just like that. And I even got a high five on my shoulder from my boss. He's like, Ari, nice job. And it was just so good. And the call came to an end. And my contact said to me, Ari, this is great. We all love it here. Look, give this call a couple of weeks, follow up with us, and we'll move this thing forward. I said to myself, oh, thank you, God. I was so excited. And I said my goodbyes. And I took my arm, my hand, and I reached for the phone in the middle of the table, hit the off button. As I'm reaching for the off button, by complete accident, now it's a divine intervention, my thumb hit the mute button instead of the off button by complete accident. They were right next to each other. And a small click happened, and they thought I hung up the phone. In that split second, a voice inside of me said, Ari, go to the dark side. Be a fly in the wall. You have nothing to lose. I'm just curious what they're going to say. So what would you imagine they would have said after a call like that? Not a trick question. What would you imagine anybody would have said after a call like that?
I'd imagine they'd be saying, that was a great call. We got great info. We're excited.
Exactly. You'd expect that is what would happen next. But here's what I heard word for word. And this is why we're here today. What they said was this. They said, we're not going to go with him. Keep using him for more information and make sure we shop someplace else cheaper. Knife in heart twist. I was in a state of shock. I snapped out of it. I hit the off button. I looked at the wall and I said to myself, what did I do wrong? I was heart-centered. I was competent. I was professional. I built rapport. I did everything I was supposed to do as a professional. And when I realized, I had the epiphany, I realized that somewhere along the way, it has become socially acceptable not to tell the truth to people who sell, right? It's okay to say things like, sounds good, send me information. Oh, we're definitely interested, without any intention of buying. And I asked myself, what's going on here? This is incredible. And then I realized at that moment, I asked myself, why were they afraid to just tell me the truth? And I realized the reason why is there's an invisible kind of flow of pressure that flows underneath your sales process in all your conversations pre-sale. Now, you can't see it and they can't see it, but they can feel it. And if you aren't consciously aware of the pressure inside your sales process, and you're not removing it from the conversations you're having with people, they'll always feel comfortable putting their guard up, giving you just a few breadcrumbs to make you feel like they're going to buy something. And you'll be chasing people, hoping they're going to buy. And that becomes a very dysfunctional, dehumanizing process that we all get caught up in because we think they're telling us the truth, and often they're not. And that became my whole mindset shift called the unlock the game approach, where you shift your thinking away from the end goal of the sale, and instead you focus on deep trust, building what I call a moment of vulnerability so they feel comfortable telling you up front where you stand, so you're not anymore playing in the chasing game and lowering your humanity in the process.
Brilliant. I love it. And trust-based selling. This is the key, isn't it, to unlocking more sales and working with people that you love working with. So why do you think we have so much mistrust built into a sales conversation? As you said, it's not visible. It's not what anything is saying, but it's what they're feeling. Where is this coming from?
We've been so conditioned over the years, almost brainwashed to do certain activities and certain ways of thinking, certain words that we use, the approach that we use. See, we have a tendency to attempt to show value by selling ourselves, talking about case studies, showing our product to people. We often don't have the ability to separate ourselves from our solution and move into what I call a doctor-patient relationship, where they have the issue and you can help them solve the problem. See, what happens is normally in a sales process, when we sense we have a qualified buyer or someone's got a problem we can solve, our instinct says to us, oh, you can help them. Describe what you do. Save them from the problem. Show them what you do. And we jump in and we automatically talk about our solution to move them to a next step. The problem with that is, in this economy now, after COVID and all that, is that your buyer now, what they're thinking about in their mind is not about how you solve their problem. What they're asking themselves the entire time is, do I trust her? Do I trust her? Do I trust her? It's an issue of trust, not an issue of your solution. And that's the whole mindset shift is most people right now are sleepwalking through the sales conversations because they're not aware that they are inadvertently putting pressure on the process, and even themselves are having to play the game. And I'll walk through examples today to give people an idea what that looks like.
Brilliant. I love it. So how do you build trust with a prospect? And I'm guessing it's not just when you get onto the sales call. I'm guessing there's things that you need to do beforehand.
There's so many things, but I'll give you an example, a great example where you can use what we call trust-based languaging. So we invented our own set of languaging. We replaces sales scripts that's natural and authentic, that builds trust and doesn't force them to a next step. Here's a great scenario. Let's say having a first call somebody over the phone and they're fairly qualified. Good conversation, good chemistry, looks like a good fit. You're excited about it, and the call kind of comes to an end. What do we normally say to someone at the end of a call like that? What's our normal instinct to say when we feel like we can help somebody and they're a good fit with us? What do we normally say to somebody? We say things like what? How about we
How about we find a time to talk again?
Yeah, how about we move things where?
Forward.
See, we're so conditioned to move things towards a sale. But what can happen if you attempt to move somebody forward and they aren't ready yet? What do you break right there at the beginning of your process? You break trust, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now, same scenario, our mindset, our approach, our languaging. Call is going well, good chemistry, could be a good fit. Call comes through, and rather than saying, hey, how about we move forward? What we say is this. We say, where do you think we should go from here? And I'll say it again. Where do you think we should go from here? Now, how does that shift the moment? What is happening there when you say it to somebody?
Oh, they feel that they're involved in this conversation, and they have a choice about what's going to happen next, and you're asking their advice.
The power is shifting. And when you say to somebody, where do you think we should go from here? They're usually in a state of shock. They can't believe somebody in business would actually ask them what they want to do because they're so used to being sold, so used to being pulled down a process. They know what's coming next. So they put their guard up, and then it's a game going on there. But when you say to somebody, where do you think we should go from here, with empathy and trust, they can't help but to say things like, well, I've got one more question. Or well, what about this? What comes out is the truth at the beginning of your process and not the end. It's a whole shift, a contrarian shift away from focusing on your goal of the sale and focusing only on building trust with them.
Brilliant. This is great stuff. So I'd like to come back into this sales process in a bit, but I'd love to know, you've got a really successful business, and I'd love you to ask about your mindset and the shifts you've had to make in your mindset to grow your vision, to grow your business, to grow your team, to be able to charge what you want to charge. How do you think about this? How do you approach this in order to be able to get big momentum in growing your business?
Well, primarily what I teach and talk to my clients about is about positioning yourself as what I call a trusted authority. That's one of our brands. And we basically help people understand the mindset around that, because you can position yourself to your ideal client in advance of your first conversation with them. That removes a lot of resistance. And you can then do what I'm working on a new book right now called the one call sale, which will be a revolutionary system that I'm working on right now, which I've already got done and tested, that it will help people learn how to onboard somebody if they're qualified and have a scheduled call with somebody on one conversation. No follow-up, no next steps, no proposal, no I'll think about it. All that is gone. So when you match up your positioning and the one call sale process, you remove all resistance.
I like the sound of that very much. My follow-on question then is, how do you position yourself to become a trusted authority before you even start speaking to the prospect?
Well, the way you do it is you have to fully understand the core issues that you solve for your ideal client. You have to know their issues better than they know them themselves. It's like an X-ray machine. It's like a patient saying to the doctor, my shoulder hurts. And he says, where? Is it over here? Right there. Oh, you know what? I think you need an X-ray so we can really understand the source of the problem. You have to be able to go beyond what your prospects think they want, because you and I both know that customers themselves don't know what they need, even though they think they know what they want. And so you have to go beyond what they're saying to you. For instance, let's say you have a call with somebody and it's a first consultation. You got met them on LinkedIn or something, and you do coaching. And normally what happens on calls like that is the person selling or the coach or consultant, what they think they're supposed to be doing first is what is to build rapport and build a relationship with someone on that call. Now I'm about to drop a bomb right now. I hope you're aware of this. My work's very contrarian, but I'm going to suggest to you right now that your job is no longer to build relationships with people pre-sale. You build a relationship with them after they're a client, not before they're a client. What we discovered is that trust building and relationship building can be mutually exclusive. Meaning, see, what we do is we've been taught to build a rapport with people. Oh, how's it going? Great, nice to meet you. How's the weather in London? See, we lay it on thick because we think that they have to become our friend first and have to like us first to buy from us. That's an old sales notion, been around from the 1980s. It's all about the relationship and them liking you and them getting to know you better. If you want to wait a long time, sure. But I'm working on a new bumper sticker. I'm going to be publishing soon. You know what's going to be on it? It's going to say, doctors don't do coffee.
Right.
Doctors don't socialize.
Okay.
Doctors don't want to become your friend.
No.
Their goal is to tell you the truth of your issue. We as people who sell, we don't do that. What we do is the minute we hear they're qualified or have a problem, we say, great, I can help you with that. Doctors don't do that. They say, I cannot prescribe to you a solution ethically until I find out the true source of your problem and whether you want to own solving it or not. So one of the key phrases I teach my clients is this. You ask somebody on the call, is this a priority for you to solve once and for all? Or is it something you're happy to live with for a while? And I'm okay either way.
I really like the phrase you just used, you own solving it. That is something really, such a great thing to say because it brings in the commitment. It shows the commitment from the prospect to solving the problem. So they're not saying, well, you solve it for me. They're saying, okay, let's work together to solve it.
It's like a therapist and a patient. If the patient doesn't own the problem, they're the worst patients to ever have. Same with your clients. If they don't own the entirety of their issue and the impact of not solving it, the totality of their issues, if they don't own it and say to you the magic words, which are, how can you help me? Then you're always going to fight the battle and chase people.
You know, we have this wonderful thing as entrepreneurs called resistance. And, we don't want to do certain things in our business, which are key things that if we did them, our business would be much healthier and more robust. And one of them is that I've come across, and I've suffered from this myself to a certain extent, is doing the research on our clients and finding out their biggest challenges, their biggest pain points, what they really want. So for anyone who's listening to this course saying, oh, I want to skip that step where I know their challenge is better than they do, because that bit, needs a lot of work and it's a bit boring and all of that. What would you say to them?
I call it an iceberg. At the top of the iceberg, on a call with somebody, your potential client will tell you just enough at the top of the iceberg to keep you going on your process. What you have to understand is you have to go below the iceberg 5 levels deep and find out the true issue behind their problem. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're on a call with somebody and they say to you, my challenge is my team's not performing well. I need some help with that. The next phrase you want to always say to somebody when they tell you their problem is this, and here it is. You want to say, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Now it's going to make them now think about what they just told you and go one level deeper and describe what's going on. Then they're going to say to you, well, they're missing their goals and they're not getting along very well. They're not really engaged. Then you can say, well, how long has it been happening for? Since COVID, right? And are you able to calculate the impact to your business so far by them not performing the level you want them to perform? Well, not really. Well, let's look at that to figure out really if this problem we're solving or not. Here I am saying to him, let's decide if this problem is worth solving or not. I mean, look what I'm doing. I'm taking him from, I've got a problem to down the iceberg to whether we're going to solve it or not. I'm doing a diagnostic process. I'm not giving a solution until he says to me, How can you help me?
Yeah.
I'm in no rush to move anybody forward until they own their own problem.
And in that way, he will see the cost of remaining where he is without solving the problem. And then when you would come in and say, well, the investment is this, then he can measure the investment against the cost of staying where he is.
He has a frame to finally understand that your fee is a fraction of what the impact is to a company.
One thing that puts fear into the heart of entrepreneurs is feeling salesy or pushy or manipulative on a call. And that part of the call when they say, well, how much is it? And that's the part where, many people can just freeze and think, I hate this bit when I have to say my price because they're going to say it's too much, etc. And I know we only have, short amount of time left and I'm asking a big question, but what is your top tip about whatever phrase you want to use, dealing with objections, overcoming objections? What would you advise?
Well, you can eliminate objections altogether. Like that specific one about the money part. When you do the impact in the beginning and they say to you, it's costing me $20,000 a month in losses and productivity by not solving this problem, and you tell them your fee is $5,000 a month on retainer, well, there's a clear ROI there. Because if he says to you it's too expensive, you can say, is that based on the losses or based on, give me an idea of what you mean by that. See, now, if you have the information in the beginning, then you're fine. Now, let's reverse that. Let's say you didn't get that far in the beginning. Here's how you handle objections our way. Number one is you don't overcome objections. You diffuse them. So if someone says to you, for instance, your fee is too high, the normal reaction to do with that is what? Defend yourself, right? Well, I'm worth it. I've been around for a long time. I got 20 case studies. I'm a coach. That's the old way. Our way is if someone says your fee is too high, what we're going to say is, you're absolutely right. It can be, and here it is, perceived as high. If you haven't had a chance to experience what it's like to see your team turn around in 90 days and perform at the level you want them to perform at, you're absolutely right about that. On the outside in, it appears that way, for sure.
Yeah, it's very much setting the context and looking at it in the big picture rather than just looking at it in isolation, which tends to happen so many times. And just think, well, that was more than I was expecting. Well, I'll go and see if I can find the similar thing at a cheaper price.
I would say if someone that said that to us, that's more than I was expecting. I'd say back in an empathetic way. I'd say your losses that you're incurring right now are more than I expected as well.
Yeah.
It's like a tennis game. You're at the net with a big wide racket. Hit the ball with just a slight touch back in their court the whole time, and they're running around trying to hit the ball. See, they're used to putting the ball in our court and us defending ourselves. That's why everyone freaks out when it comes to selling, because we're so uncomfortable with the idea of it, because we're always in their process when they're never in our process. Once you own this model and you master it, you are in control. This is a battle of control. Who's going to own the control? You or them? When you go to a doctor, who's in control? The gentleman in the white coat and stethoscope. When they come to you for a call off of LinkedIn or a first conversation, if you are just trying to build a relationship with them by building a rapport with them and kind of having a nice conversation with them, you're not creating a framework that helps them own and solve their problem. That's why once you learn this model, it becomes very easy and your self-confidence rises quickly because you feel like you are now centered.
Wonderful. I love it. I could talk for so much longer about this, but unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our time together. And I'd love to know, how can our viewers and our listeners find out more about you and the amazing work you're doing? I'm currently reading one of your books. It's this one, Unlock the Sales Game, and it came in an amazing package. I sent you a photo, said thank you for that. So how can they find out more about you and the incredible work you're doing?
Sure. It's just one place to go, which is www.unlockthegame.com. Just like it sounds, there's an intro course there. And there's also a chance to have a free coaching session with us. And don't be afraid of that. See what it's like to have a coaching session with us and not be sold something.
Wow, what a tantalizing offer that is.
Experience what it's like to actually have somebody on one conversation give you so much clarity that you go, oh my God. And you're never going to be offered a next step. Experience that, because that in itself will teach you how to have your clients jumping through hoops to ask you for help.
Incredible. So we get to experience it ourselves, what it's like, and then we'll be able to learn some great things from there, which we can then apply to our own sales conversations. I love it. Thank you so much, Ari, for being here. It's been wonderful and amazing. I was so looking forward to interviewing you, but you have surpassed my expectations. And for everyone who's listening and watching, I would highly recommend you check out Ari's stuff. He is the real deal, and he sells ethically and with honesty and building trust, which for me really fits in very strongly with my own values. And you're getting great results from your clients, I know.
And I'm also very active on LinkedIn. So just connect with me, say hello, tell me you heard me here, and we can go from there.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for everyone who's been listening and watching. Really enjoy your company each and every time. Till next time. Bye-bye for now.